this National Martial Arts Mela today in Trivandrum. And I was fortunate enough to witness a lot of activities, one being the martial art performances, one being the Siddha stalls, and a lot of traditional knowledge they are showcasing here, and one being Kalaribai. And probably these kind of initiatives will definitely showcase the traditional knowledge which we have accumulated over the last so many centuries, and probably this will be a wonderful occasion to showcase our knowledge, as well as give us confidence on the traditions which we had in so many past centuries. Probably in the coming centuries, our new generation will learn more about these things, we hope, and probably different institutions like state governments and the central government, and of course the practicing persons here can come together and work together well. Thank you so much. was part of this national martial arts mela actually in Trivandrum, and I was fortunate enough to witness a lot of activities. One being the martial art performances, one being the Siddha stalls, and a lot of traditional knowledge they are showcasing here, and one being Kalaribai. And probably these kind of initiatives will definitely showcase the traditional knowledge which we have accumulated over the last so many centuries, and probably this will be a wonderful occasion to showcase our knowledge as well as give us confidence on the traditions which we had in so many past centuries. Probably in the coming centuries, our new generation will learn more about these things. We hope, and probably different institutions like state governments and the central government, and of course the practicing persons here can come together and work together. Thank you so much.
നമസ്കാരം. ട്രിനിറ്റി കോളേജ് ഓഫ് എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗിലെ IKS സെന്ററും അഗസ്ത്യം കളറിയും ചേർന്ന് സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുന്ന ദേശീയ ആയോധന കലാമേളയ്ക്ക് എൻ്റെ ഹൃദയം നിറഞ്ഞ ആശംസകൾ.
Hi, this is Neeta. My experience with martial arts is connected to my movie The Kung Fu Master, which was in theatres in 2020. The character I played in the film required me to learn forms of Kung Fu and Taekwondo. Although the learning was intended solely for the project, the experience from learning and practicing these forms left a very positive impact on my personal life too. And for the same reason, I continue to practice, and I'm a huge admirer and advocate of martial arts. That said, I'm extremely happy to learn that the first National Martial Arts Mela is going to be held on October 7th and 8th at the Trinity College of Engineering and Agasthyam Kalari at Trivandrum under the Ministry of Education at AICTE. I wish this event and initiative a grand success.
I'm not a great martial art freak, but I enjoy watching action movies and martial art tournaments. For people like me who enjoy watching martial art tournaments, there is something which is happening in Trivandrum. Do not forget. And I wish the organizers are the very best for organizing this National Martial Art Mela in Trivandrum, organized by IKS Center at Trinity College of Engineering. Do not forget Trinity College of Engineering. And I seriously wish Agasthyam Kalari for organizing this beautiful event. Go there, enjoy the iti, adi, and be there to experience the beautiful feel of martial art. Be a healthy, courageous warrior, baby.
Hello, I'm Anand here, and my very best wishes for the National Martial Arts Mela, which is happening in Trivandrum, organized by IKS Center at Trinity College of Engineering and Agasthyam Kalari. Be a healthy, courageous warrior. All the best. Be a great fighter, and my best wishes again. Wish you all success.
Vanakkam. It's nice to know there's going to be National Martial Arts Mela at Trivandrum on October 7th and 8th of this year, organized by IKS with the help of Government of India. Each and every civilization have their own defensive system. Before we could invent rifles, bombs, missiles, a warrior has to fight against another warrior face to face. So he has to be a missile, he has to be a bomb, he has to be a aircraft, he has to be a ship, everything. It's nice to know that different kinds of martial arts are brought to Trivandrum. It's very nice, and it will be an eye-opener for our next generation that we had all these great martial arts in our land. I wish them all the best, the organizers, participants, and the viewers. Thank you.
Wishing National Arts Mela a grand success. My salutes to all the courageous warriors.
வணக்கம். நேஷனல் மார்ஷியல் ஆர்ட்ஸ் மேளா 2022 அக்டோபர் 7th and 8th நடக்குது. அதுக்கு என்னுடைய மனமார்ந்த வாழ்த்துக்கள். எல்லாரும் கலந்துங்க, நல்லா என்ஜாய் பண்ணுங்க. வெல்வோம்.
Best wishes for the National Martial Arts Mela in Trivandrum, organized by the IKS Center at Trinity College of Engineering and Agasthyam Kalari. Be a courageous warrior, and best wishes for the whole team. Thank you.
ഹായ് ഫ്രണ്ട്സ്, 2022 ഒക്ടോബർ 7-8 തീയതികളിൽ നടക്കുന്ന നാഷണൽ മാർഷൽ ആർട്സ് മേളയ്ക്ക് എൻ്റെ എല്ലാവിധ ആശംസകളും. ഓൾ ദി ബെസ്റ്റ്.
Best wishes for the National Martial Arts Mela in Trivandrum, organized by the IKS Center at Trinity Engineering College and Agasthyam Kalari. Be a healthy, courageous warrior.
ഹായ്, നമസ്കാരം. ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ആദ്യമായി, അതും നമ്മുടെ തിരുവനന്തപുരത്ത് നടക്കുന്ന നാഷണൽ മാർഷ്യൽ ആർട്സ് മേളയ്ക്ക് എൻ്റെ എല്ലാവിധ ആശംസകളും. ഓൾ ദി വെരി ബെസ്റ്റ്.
രാജ്യത്ത് ആദ്യമായി ഒരുക്കുന്ന ദേശീയ ആയോധന കലാമേളയ്ക്ക് കേരളം വേദിയാവുകയാണ്. ഇന്ത്യൻ നോളജ് സിസ്റ്റം, അഗസ്ത്യം കളരി, ട്രിനിറ്റി കോളേജ് ഓഫ് എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് എന്നിവ സംയുക്തമായി സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുന്ന യുവത്വത്തിന്റെ കരുത്തിന്റെയും മഹാമേളയ്ക്ക് എന്റെ എല്ലാവിധ ആശംസകളും നേരുന്നു.
interestingly, I was part of this national martial arts mela actually in Trivandrum, and I was fortunate enough to witness a lot of activities. One being the martial art performances, one being the Siddha stalls, and a lot of traditional knowledge they are showcasing here, and one being clarified. And probably these kind of initiatives will definitely showcase the traditional knowledge which we have accumulated over the last so many centuries, and probably this will be a wonderful occasion to showcase our knowledge as well as give us confidence on the traditions which we had in so many past centuries. Probably in the coming centuries, our new generation will learn more about these things. We hope, and probably different institutions like state governments and the central government, and of course the practicing persons here can come together and work together well. Thank you so much.
By, and unfortunately he couldn't join this morning because a movie promotion is going on. As we saw and heard from yesterday, this is a mela. This is not a conference, this is not an expo, this is a very Indian style mela. And it is a mela of hearts and minds where we are very informally discussing, and we are witnessing some tremendously flexible bodies and minds. Yesterday, the Malcolm team performance, the Mardani Khel performance, the Gatka team performance, unbelievable, the performance of the Kung Fu, Wushu teams and the Silambam teams. We are in an era where people are acknowledging that this will be not just the decade of India, but it will be the century of India. And yesterday we saw some youngsters, 6-year-olds, 10-year-olds, we are very confident this will be the century. 2 panels were held yesterday. One was about the psychological impact of martial arts. The second one was Future of Martial Arts 2047. One common thread that was raised by all the experts who were here is that this will not work unless we include this in the curriculum. So that's why this panel becomes very, very special. And all 3 of you are eminently, deeply involved in academics. You are aware of what are the pains and hardships to get things into the curriculum, the kind of resistance that can come, how we can, sidetrack these things. But there is a lot of hope at this point because COVID made us all aware of how far back we can go mentally and physically in a span of 2 years. So I would like to listen to each of you, give an opinion about your background with martial arts. I know all 3 of you have personal connections with martial arts, and how it has helped you in your life. So how it helped you in your life and how it is helping you in your life right now. We can start with Rajashree ma'am. This is a multilingual panel, so it doesn't matter if you switch languages also.
Thank you, Dr. Arun Surendran, for that introduction. My fellow panelists and all the distinguished audience who are here. So I'm not a practitioner of this, but I do have exposure to this when one day when I was visiting this college, Trinity Engineering College, on the way back to my office, Dr. Arun Surendran suggested that I stop by at Kalari in Nemam, and then I had the opportunity to see a few students there performing this. And I was very much attracted by their performance and the way they carry themselves. And then I was suddenly fascinated by this. And then I went back, and I have 2 small daughters who are 11 years old. They are twins. They are here. And then I thought of sending them to Kalari. And this was a very, there was a pertinent change in their life also. The way they took this form of art and their interest to go there and then be with the people and then practice and achieve something, which was not very common with the other forms of arts which they have been practicing so far till they became 11 years. So that is my personal experience. And then also in my present position as the Vice Chancellor, it is 3 years now. And I've been dealing with students of 18 to 22 years of age for 30 years. So you can imagine the way this 30 years have changed people in those age groups, 18 to 22, and the difficulties and challenges involved as educational administrators, starting from teachers to heads of the departments to principal to vice chancellor, handling these people with very, very, very different kinds of problems coming from various backgrounds, and the challenges that the industry poses with respect to jobs, the challenges that the new educational systems and practices in institutions have been bringing in, and all the other social evils around. With all these, and also the changes in societies, I should say, the way they grow up, their family structure, everything has to contribute to their life in the academic institutions. And when we think of mitigating them, no, it is not a one-stop solution for that. We need to think very holistically. And okay, I'll continue after listening from you what you have to tell.
Thank you so much. Matrubhyo namaha, Pitrubhyo namaha, Gurubhyo namaha, Sabhayi namaha, Sabhapadebhyascha namo namaha. A very warm welcome and good morning to all of you and my co-panelists. It's an honor to be on stage with you all here. And I will specifically make 3 points about 3 aspects. One, as Arunji suggested, personal connection with the martial arts. Second one, what I have seen in the students who practice martial arts and what does it bring to them. Third one, I think is the most important one. How can we bring it to the curriculums and into the schools and education system? So personal connection, I mean, was earlier, I was a late starter. I started my martial arts practice around 23, and I started Taekwondo at that time and practiced really hard. That was a very, not a competitive one. It was much more about uniting the body and mind, because that was the philosophy with which that school I trained was working. So one thing I noticed there, this was during my PhD, and as you know, PhD's programs are very, very stressful mentally. And what martial arts brought to me was that a sense of balance. Whether it was in the life, personal life or professional life, that sense of balance is something that I cherish, and that being active physically and channelizes the energy in the proper way. And then when we basically started a family and all, then my daughter also got into that. And one of the very common things that is diagnosed in children these days is something called as ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And it is becoming like a epidemic sort of a thing. But when you look at a children are supposed to be active, playing. They're not supposed to be sitting in a chair for 6 hours in a day and listen to a lecture. So most children are like that. And my daughter and son, they were all like that. So they were finding it difficult actually to concentrate. And once my daughter started a Indonesian martial art called Pukulan Tajmande, then she calmed down, and much more sense of those things were there. And again, the sense of balance came back. And so in our home, all of my children practice martial arts. And recently we had the first ever IKS division organized the IKS Mela. And in that, we were very fortunate that we had Dr. Arun and Dr. Mahesh's team come up. Kalari IKS Center on Kalari Payattu Siddha tradition. They performed in Delhi. So that long break I took after practicing Taekwondo, 12, 13 years, Arunji inspired me and then said, you can start anytime, no worries. And then we started one fine day through an online thing. Now you see, it's also possible to do this kind of online learning also. So that is essentially now I'm practicing, and I'm a very proud student of Agastya Gurukulam and Mahesh Gurukul and Vishnu Ashram. So they are my teachers. So that's my personal connection, the one thing. Second thing I wanted to talk about was the impact that I see in children and students and on when they practice martial arts and when they don't practice martial arts. I teach at an IIT Indore, and I'm going to talk about both 18 plus kids and also 18 kids below 18. So when I see them, one of the biggest challenges that is being faced by a lot of students these days, college going kids, is the mental depression, anxiety. These kind of issues are very, very common. I was surprised to see that we needed like the mental wellness kind of coordinator there, a counselor, and her job is essentially now appointments are filled up like for weeks together. And I was really surprised to see that in a small campus. And this has become huge. And going back 30, 40 years, we didn't really see that. And I think there is a lot of, especially the COVID, also that online communication. I mean, we say that we can teach online, but there is that personal connection that is missing in the classroom teaching. I think that all these isolation, human beings are social beings first, and that isolation from others and that sense of community really brings out a lot of these anxieties and other problems. And I think that is where channelizing that energy into the right direction is something that will help again bring back that sense of balance. And again, same thing with the school children. As I was saying earlier, if children are supposed to be active, and channelizing their energies in an active way is something that will really help them to achieve that sense of balance. Because on the schooling system that we have right now, for the good or the worse, it is going to stay pretty much in the same structure. We are going to have lectures. It will be like 8 to 2 or something like that. And so children are expected to sit down. But then if there is some way that we can use that to adapt it, that will be something that will be great. And third point about how can we bring this, implement this in the NAP 2020. We are, IKS division, we work very closely with UGC, AICTE, and also the NCRT, for example. So if you look at it, the key thing, there are two key things. The first thing is that we need to have a societal buy-in. Unless people are convinced that this is something that is valuable for their children, they will not really go. And just like your example, you had gone and seen the value of martial arts for your children, and you enrolled them. Similarly, I think there is a need to educate all our parents about this, that there is something that the child can gain out of this. And whether it is, because ultimately we all want our children to be happy. And I think that is where each of us who are practicing martial arts, is very important for the martial arts community to do outreach events. This is such a great example of a outreach event where we saw so many children come from so many schools. I think we need to be doing this and taking this to schools and informing parents through multiple channels. I think that is one thing that we need. So we need to make them sumukha. So we need to make them basically positively aligned towards this idea that martial arts is something that parents, their children need to learn. Second thing is we also need to educate the teachers. And that is where a lot of the policies succeed or fail, is if we have proper teacher training. And there is this physical education is already a subject. But then unfortunately, if you look at it, most of the games that are taught there are essentially based on the Western basically games like tennis, cricket, or something like that. At IKS division, we try to introduce Indian games. In fact, we are going to announce that implementation of that initiative, where we are initiating 75 Indian games in schools. Every month, they will be playing one martial art, one Bharatiya game. Similarly, we need to be thinking about introducing that martial art. For that, India is blessed with so many martial arts, and we need to be focusing on the region-specific martial arts. Just like we are talking about a multilingual, multidisciplinary education system, where we are talking about education system in the Matrubhasha, we also need to be thinking about bringing arts and culture and similarly the martial arts of that region into the education system, because then we'll be having an easier buy-in from the parents as well, because there is that regional pride associated, which is very justified. And also we need to basically take it to the whole other thing. And experiential learning is something that NEP 2020 is emphasizing quite a bit. And I think bringing that martial arts not just as a physical exercise, that is a notion that we need to dispel. That it is not a physical exercise, but it is a complete system of life that prepares the children for life. So as John Dewey said, education was not filling of a pail, but lighting a fire. I mean, this is that kind of a thing that, and education is not preparation for life is a life itself. So this is something that we need to really inculcate. And if we can get that idea across, I think this is the right time. Next 1 year is going to be very critical because a lot of syllabi for the school education is being made right now. National curriculum framework is going to come on 4th. I think today, last week, 3-4 days ago, it was released. So these are all things. This is the time that we can create this national awareness. And I think events like Dhara will be something that we need to use to go into the consciousness of the society and also into the system from the other ways by bringing it into the policy recommendations. So those are the 3 things. Thank you so much.
Anand, before you start, Anand is faculty at the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, and he has been through Indian campuses, Trivandrum campuses, American campuses, and now he's back in the campus where I believe the cream of the cream from India. They go to the IIST. So his experience would tell us among the student population, just like you mentioned the IIT, I want to learn about that as well. How is the mental health, physical health aspect of IIST students, and where do you see?
Yeah. So namaskaram everyone. Firstly, it's an honor to be a part of this panel. I'll first answer the question that Arunji had posed in the beginning, which is my connection with martial arts. So I am a student of Agasthyam. Just for a year. It's been only a year. But in this 1 year, in addition to my own personal practice of the martial arts, of Kalari, I've had the chance to see up close great gurus like Mahesh Gurukal and so many others who have been with this art form, who have been journeying through this art form for decades. So I had the chance to interact with them. So I will speak with those impressions in my mind. See, I think one of the biggest challenges, as Sir was mentioning, of this century is how to maintain some sanity, how to maintain some inner peace, how to maintain human relations in a world which is kind of increasingly trying to give you a sensory overload of information that is both good and bad. And so shunning away from it, withdrawing from it is not really a sustainable solution. Instead, what we need to know is how to handle this, how to handle this deluge of things that are coming towards us, social media included and so many other things. And I speak of this because, as Arunji was mentioning, I teach in a university where we have students from the age group of 17 to 21. So that is the basis for this statement. So we need to handle, we need to know how to handle this thing. We need to know what to consume, how much to consume, and what to reject. And this requires a certain kind of wisdom. So while being a student of Kalari and while also interacting with the great gurus, what I have seen is that externally, at the face of it, Kalari or any martial art form for that matter looks like a very physical activity, and it is. But for the practitioner, there is something more important that is happening. It is an inner journey that is happening. And yesterday, as the Honorable MLA was saying, you know, the body and mind ceases to be two different entities when you are involved in the practice of something that is traditional, like the performing art forms of India or the martial art forms of India. So they join together, and that is where the true human potential gets unleashed. And this I have seen with many of the great gurus here. And so this is the wisdom, I think, that we somehow have to make accessible to the next generation. And the national education policy, after 3.5 decades, we have taken a close look at where our educational policies stand and what kind of an impact it has had at society at large. So 3 generations have gone by through this curriculum. And I think this NEP is the right time. NEP 2020 is the right time. It provides the right framework to have this kind of a conversation and see how we can help students, not only students who are pursuing higher education, but right from the grassroots level, right from the young kindergarten level, how do we help them come closer to this wisdom, so that they can use this wisdom to face the most important challenge for them, which is fear, I think. And interestingly, martial art, at the face of it, again, people may think it is about acquiring some lethal techniques that will help you to fight an opponent outside. But the real conflict is always within. And that is where I think this martial art form would have a role. So how to overcome fear, meaning how to overcome fear of failure in the classroom context, in the academic context. There are so much of expectations, as sir and ma'am were mentioning, from everybody around them. So how do I cope with it? How do I take up challenges? How do I not shun away from challenges? So these kind of things, I think we don't have to look anywhere else for this wisdom. The tools are already with us. It is just a matter of making it accessible to the children. And that is where I think the NEP conversation becomes very, very important. Yeah.
Thank you, all three panelists. One of the things that you have mentioned is fear, and the other one that I would like to mention is, it seems to me that our education system, with the British influence on it, it's geared towards escaping. This I have had numerous discussions with Vice Chancellor Madam as well. We want to escape from doing the assignment. We want to escape from classes. We want to escape from our state. We want to escape from the country. It is completely geared towards how I can lose my rootedness. Education is supposed to take you out of your entire given system. Yesterday, the Gatka team had used a wonderful word, virasat. See, what has come down to us as heritage, as a birthright, the entire education system seems to be set up in a way to escape out of it. Now we are in a position to challenge and bring it back. Years of discussions with Madam and Ayub sir as well, the Pro Vice Chancellor. The key difference in her leadership is that we have finally become a very student-oriented university, where what we are thinking about is what is going to happen to the individual boy or girl who has come to us, not about administrative, what happens and this and so on. So in that context, every time Madam is always discussing with me, how can this be helpful for the individual student to come, and how can we recognize this?
Yeah.
Right? If somebody, right now, even if we may not be able to bring things into the system, we can recognize the students who are taking an effort to do this, and the parents outside doing this. So right now, I think only the Western sports are acknowledged and they get credit for doing this thing. Can we start with something like the activity points that we give, but we'll also recognize the martial arts, and that can be a beginning. So Madam, I would like to know your thoughts on.
Yeah, having listened to both of you, especially the honored member from Indian Knowledge System, so we are looking for a well-defined framework where not any form of martial arts is integrated into the model curriculum, for any program, undergraduate program. If it is a BTech program, it can be any form of martial art, and we always look for outcomes, right? And attributes, graduate attributes. What are the graduate attributes that are looking for? Then I'm not very sure if Indian Knowledge System has some specific research which is concentrating on that. If you do this, you become this. And if you do this, you can have these kind of mapping the practices with attributes. And then it will be a good idea to have that. See, the problems that both of you have elicited, it is very, very common with us also. It is like, if you look at the students, they have, say, their mind and body, these two never unify. That's very clear, because you see them promising in front of you that I will change, I'll do this, that. And they are not able to keep up their promises. And the modern, especially the post-COVID season, if we examine, all the students and all the youngsters, not only students, they have a very disrupted sleep patterns. It is like 2:30, 3. Our friends will be here listening to us from your college. 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then the day starts without breakfast, and then 11 o'clock have something. So the entire lifestyle has been shifted. So this has major impact on their daily activities, their routine when the classes came back, and also even students who complete their programs and join jobs, they are not able to stick on to that. And it is very disappointing for us to listen to a group of entrepreneurs in a park. We have an apparel park here in Kerala, and we went and interacted with them to see how we should be changing our academics to suit their requirements and all. And they were really disappointed, and they were expressing their anguish in telling us that if you call them for a training and if they opt for an internship for 5 days, they just want to finish it in 2 days and vanish. So the purpose of any action, leave the purpose of life aside, the purpose of any action or any program in which they are in is, it's to the maximum extent it is completely destroyed or diluted, and it is never acknowledged by the people who are in for that. So it requires major changes, not in the external things that we organize and then external inputs we give to change this, but internally their self, or whatever you call it, their self should reflect what is required, and then they should change their self to unify with the action they are doing, and their body should be an instrument to be part of this. So I'm very much in for anything that you can bring for us. Now, if we say we have NSS, for example, NSS camps. So I'm very painful to see that students, all of them organize NSS activities, but it's only in papers, and it's just having some fun, having some food together, and then it never serves the purpose why it is designed for, except a few students who really go to such activities and work for it. So this has to happen at the personal level, and if it happens at the personal level, then that will impact all the activities they get into, their curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular, and in their jobs, and as individuals when they come out, it becomes very useful for them. So a very basic fundamental changing individuals is the need of the hour, and whatever we can do, whatever we can bring into the education system as mandatory requirements to do that has become very critical. Otherwise, what happens is, if we put something optional, you say you can innovate, we have everything to innovate. Innovation doesn't come unless we sit down and design programs. We have to have programmed innovation in the campuses. So we have a target and say, we will produce this many, which is sometimes I feel it's ridiculous, but it can happen only if we have, as you said, very sane individuals with clarity in their mind, and who can see things on their own, and who can respond to the needs, whatever be the needs. It is innovation, or it is creating $1 trillion economy, or it is serving the public, or whatever it is. The people have to change, and the educational system has to change to bring in the changes in people. That's what we are looking for, and I'm hopefully, I'm 100%, I'm believing that the new model curriculum that is coming out from AICT now will definitely have a component in this. It is not something for marks, but it can be a mandatory course, with say pass, fail, or whatever. But something has to be there, which each one of the students, you can have options like yoga, or this, or karate, or some other, any other form of martial arts, which is like, if it is region specific, it is okay to be like that, or it can as well be open. All these have This have been acknowledged by the whole world. Our forms of yoga or Sudarshana Kriya and all these are being practiced. So it is through experience that we learn. And when you said it, I was also thinking back. My first yoga class was at IIT Madras when I was doing my PhD, where you get time and you feel something is needed. Otherwise, you'll have to go to the health center to check your ECG, you know. When your guide is not very treating you very peacefully, you feel, oh, some kind of heaviness here, and then you go and take your ECG and there's nothing out there, but it's something else. So it is your capability to sustain all these external pressures, external happinesses, sadnesses, everything. Each individual has to be brought out in a very strong way. Only then there can be purposeful life. That is my feeling.
A couple of things that I remember. The first thing you asked was we need an outcome, an attribute which we can directly attribute, which is our fundamental research in the IKS Center for Kalaripayar. Yesterday, Brian Moore had spoken in the second panel about psychological impact, about the work he did in Australia, where he found significant improvement in resilience. So what we are trying to do in IKS Center is to see if Kalaripayar can give the similar. So once the scientific evidence is presented, it becomes very difficult to dispute it. So that will be taken care of. The second thing I want to mention is about in connection with NSS and the activities. We have our NSS volunteers, their NSS team in Trinity. It's very easy to find that it's usually the 30-40% of the students who end up doing the job. But that training is tremendous. So yesterday, before leaving, I had asked 3-4 boys to make sure that you sleep on this stage, I told them, because that's a great learning that happens. I have slept on the stage during my BTech days. So today morning they met me, 3-4 of them who slept here. So see, that is an integral Mela-based education that you can provide where you feel deeply involved in the system, because otherwise it's just a certificate gaining thing. 2 days I'll go, I'm not one. The third thing I want to mention is the Buddhist concept of monkey mind, right, which is completely scattered. Trinity is a campus full of monkeys. So I always ask the students, what is the difference between us and them? They immediately shift their attention to wherever they want to go. We are humans because we developed systems. We developed a way in which we can control our behavior and control the outcomes and so on. So that has to have now tools that will help them. I think martial arts is a great tool that can be provided. We shouldn't deny them the ability, especially when India has such phenomenal traditions that we saw yesterday.
I think, again, the points that you touched upon, it should not simply be the certificate type of thing, but needs to be involved. I mean, there should be involvement of the students in a good way. That is very important. I think one of the things that all martial arts teach is the value of patience, because you will learn that physically speaking, that stretch will not happen in one day. If you push it too much, it will break. You have to stretch it slowly. And then this is another point that Nassim Nicholas Taleb, he wrote a book called Anti-Fragile. There he talks about how there are these systems which are actually gained from small, basically deviations from the ideal this thing. And life is full of all that. And I think we need to learn to tap into these different things, experiences, and grow from it, rather than be pulled down and weighed down by that. And I think integrating martial arts into our education system is a good way to do it. And the question becomes, where do we do it and how do we do it? Because that is a very important thing. And I think incentivizing it, not just as a certificate thing, but as something like a mandatory course is an excellent option. But then we also, I think, this is just my personal opinion, in the sense that I think there is this virasa, the Guru Shishya Parampara is a absolutely integral part of any tradition, martial art tradition. And I think we should also think about how we can respect that and keep that, and also make it mandatory from a curricular perspective. So I think one of the great ways that the NEP 2020 makes it available, enables us, is that they say that 30 to 40% of the courses can be taken online or in different modes. And I think making a mandatory course in some kind of what we can call it as a balopasana, I mean, we don't have to call it martial arts. We can call it as a balopasana. We are essentially upasana. We are doing the upasana of the bala, strength. And that is physical strength, mental strength, and spiritual strength. That essentially is what we are trying to do. And that can be taken outside the regular structure of a college or things like that. But of course, there will be some standards on, as to who can offer, where they will be going, how many hours they will be doing, all that. But I think if we can think of a mandatory course outside the regular academic hours, because trying to fit everything into 8 to 5 is not a possibility. And then also, I mean, training starts at 6 o'clock. It doesn't in the morning, not in the afternoon 2 o'clock after I'm full. So, right. So these are all things that we need to think about. Having a structure outside the regular hours will not impact the academics as such. So that will also give us that colleges the thing that, okay, we are not treading into their already precious academic time, interaction time with the students. It is outside the class, which is also a good thing in the sense that it will engage the students in a very productive fashion in some things, rather than going into some other places where they can get into some kind of bad habits or things like that, or not use their time productively. This will be a productive use of their time outside the classroom, and also builds a community of students who are training together, and so that brings a sense of togetherness and all that. And also the thing is, if we are together with somebody in adversity, we build lifelong relationships with those people. And I think martial arts teaches you that. You are pushing for that next push-up, next two stretches and things like that. This is where we bond very well. And I think this is also very important thing. See, one of the things that unfortunately we are going too much towards the individualistic society, where it is all about me, myself, I, and all that. But fundamentally, we are social human beings. And then if we know that there is a support system that exists for me, I can count on my friend to come to my rescue or to my this thing when I'm in need at 9 o'clock in the night or 10 o'clock in the night. That gives me self-confidence also. And it is through bonding like this that we can actually have that sense of community. That also gives a sense of, again, peacefulness, as you are saying, because that internal peace is much more thing that is not so easily available and easily achievable. And I think doing all these things could be one way. So essentially to sum it up, what I'm trying to suggest is that we can have some kind of a mandatory course, as you were suggesting, but outside the regular academic hours, and implemented by many of the martial art associations throughout the country, or even through programs like NSS or not, and things like that. But NSS might be too limited for this, because you need a regular practice for this, and that might not be fitting into NSS. But essentially making this like a mandatory thing would be a great way to get started. NEP 2020 fortunately enables that also. So those are the enabling things. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add a couple of points to all the excellent points that both of you have mentioned. So every year, 150 students join IIST. And for the last several years, we have been having a 10-day-long induction program. And as both of you would be aware, and everybody in the audience would be aware, AICT strongly recommends that yoga and meditation be made an integral part of this orientation. So I have been part of a committee where we have been implementing this. And so during this 10-day-long induction, every day starts with yoga and meditation. And we have wonderful instructors from the Art of Living Foundation who come and teach the students certain techniques which they can carry forward in their life. And at the end of the induction, what we find is that 30% of the students continue with the practices, and the remaining 70% slowly drop out. And when we ask the students why this is, they show the timetable to us and say, so where do I do this, you know? So it's like a wall where all the bricks are stacked, you know. Everybody wants to teach for 40 hours a semester, and so they don't have the time, they don't have the breathing space to stand and stare at where life is taking them. So, but some students successfully manage to do that, and those are the 30% who benefit from the initial thing that we introduced to them in the induction program. So, which is why I will come back to my original point, which is that we have to catch them young. I think the younger classes is where there is a space and there is a time and there is an opportunity to experiment. And so you bring in the physical aspect of martial art at a very young age, because the philosophical aspect could be a little too high for them. But you give them all the tools, you give them all the techniques, you make them physically so well that the inner transformation would automatically happen. And at subsequent years, we can bring in the theoretical aspects of the philosophical aspects of it, all the jnana parampara that you were referring to, the Indic traditions, the Indic knowledge, all these traditions, the Siddha tradition, etc. If we bring that in, it will resonate with them because they have already experienced this while growing up. And so they can relate to it, and anything that which they can relate to will stick with them, and they will become the most ardent proponents of that. So I think an experience first, followed by a theoretical grounding, is what is needed. And this would eventually help higher education also. As ma'am was mentioning, the challenges of new India is how do you innovate, how do you create a $1 trillion economy, etc. And there is this famous joke in all the management colleges that the best ideas happen not at the boardroom, but when you are in the shower. Okay, and that I think is another way of saying that the best ideas, creativity happens in silence. Okay, so when there is solitude and when there is silence doesn't mean, I think, going somewhere on top of Agasthyam or hills or something, but silence means the ability to withdraw when you are surrounded by noise. And this quality automatically comes in when you have been trained in any Indic traditional art forms, whether it be dance or music or martial arts. So I think catching them young, making this a part of the younger class curriculum, and NEP provides the opportunity for it. For example, it is clearly mentioned in the NEP document that we have to teach less. Okay, I mean, we have to bring down the course load. And at the younger classes, the emphasis is on functional ability to acquire language and mathematics. To that, perhaps we should also add functional ability to improve your physical and mental well-being. And we don't, as I mentioned at the beginning, we don't have to look anywhere else. You know, the wisdom is already with us. It's just a matter of making it available to all, I think.
Couple of things which were mentioned in passing. You talked about the society buying in, the social buy-in that is required. All three of you on stage, I think I have marketed Kalaripayat to you, especially Agasthyam Kalaripayat. And I keep doing, this is my 24/7, you know, whoever I'm talking to, I do mention about Kalari and aspects. When I'm taking an auto rickshaw also, I'm talking to the driver about what I recently for the Vijayadashmi, the auto rickshaw I had taken 1 month back, he brought both his daughters and they were initiated into the Kalari. So there is this dissemination that all of us need to do at a personal level, not at the Mela level and the podium level. There needs to be a personal connect that needs to happen. Because I think to change the media is going to take a lot of effort. Today, Indian Express has a wonderful full-page article on this Mela. But obviously for the media, it needs to be the showy aspects of it, right? So there is very little mention of, our quotes are there, but there is very little that you can showcase in a media about how much discipline, focus, resilience, concentration, fearlessness they come in, because they cannot be shown. They are inner qualities. So that difficulty can be overcome only at a personal level. It's only because you come and meet Mahesh Gurukul, you come and meet Vishnu Dev, that we understand this thing. So that has to go. And I think that brings me to teachers training. We need to have, we can catch the students young, but that last link is always the faculty in the classroom, the teacher who walks in. And yesterday, Dilip sir was mentioning this wonderful point. He said, it is not respect now, but it is fear of the teacher that is happening. Respect of the teacher would have created a totally different effect. So what is the faculty, because we are going to start a teachers training program in Kalaripayat in association with the Center for Trade Testing, so that we can create more ashans for Bharatiya Krida, you know, to go to schools, but a level of standardization and certification through the IKS Center and so on. But madam, I can start with you. Faculty training, right, which will be an essential ingredient. To get the induction program going, we had to bring in as many faculty as possible. So what kind of changes can we bring in into that? Because the first complaint will be what he said, the bricks are all packed, I can't take anything out. What can be done?
Yeah, like, yeah, it is. The problem is same everywhere. Today, someone was mentioning the other day in a conversation, people are not able to innovate because they don't have time to innovate. That's what is happening in campuses, because it's all with exams, courses, and one course itself will be some 3-4 textbooks, and the designers of the syllabus, they believe that unless the syllabus is full, it is not complete. So that is the way the system goes. And as all of you said, the first this thing will be to expose teachers to the practices and all. If we can have a training program, a faculty development program, or generally on bringing out the other capabilities of students. We all talk about soft skill now. So our soft skill has been reduced to speaking English, then your ability to be in a team. So what was required of the services kind of jobs we were doing, that was our definition of soft skills for some time. So the soft skills, life skills, everything is there, but what should go underneath these names, that should be carefully thought about. From the transformation we are looking for when NEP 2020 is implemented, the holistic education and transformation of individuals through education, then what are the other skills we need to put in, and how do we group them? It can be something like a wellness that is never addressed in our systems, a wellness center, and then student wellness programs. So that wellness includes physical as well as mental wellness, and that will definitely avoid many of the problems, like you said, the other kind of channelizing energy that we are facing in the campuses, that will be completely that can be avoided if students are into it rightly. So we have to have some kind of changes there itself, along with the attributes, along with the transformations that we need to make on the individual plane. What is it that we are aiming for, and how do we bring in that, and how do we make educators aware of that through a large number of programs, introducing a new segment itself in education, like you have basic sciences, humanities courses, then engineering, core engineering, specialization, like that, and individual capabilities, bringing their individual capabilities. There should be some credits devoted for that, and that can include all these. What can be the experiential part of that, and how physical education can be linked with that. It can be as one component, and that should definitely be there. And it need not be within that 8 to 5 or the 40 hours or so, which is there in a semester. It can be 24/7. The students and teachers can interact or have online interactions, or some way of counseling at an individual level by the teachers. Only through the when we face with the scale that we deal with, it will be difficult to have monolithic solutions for that. That is where we fail most. Yeah. So.
I mean, you were mentioning about the different students, wellness centers, and things like that. And you made a point earlier about how the education system is basically geared towards making us derooted, deracinated from our roots, essentially. And I think, fortunately, the NEP 2020 tries to reverse that. And I think emphasizing on our own cultural rootedness, virasa, I think is going to be a good thing as we go forward. And as we were discussing, I was just reminded of a conversation a discourse of Swami Chinmayananda. In one of his things, he said that why do he was talking about Navavida Bhakti, so 9 forms of Bhakti and all. And then the example that he gave, I think, is something that is going to be relevant for us. He said, why do I not teach everybody only to become a doctorate in mathematics or doctorate in physics? So I'm not teaching only BSc in physics, only BSc maths for everybody. Universities exist because, and they function well. The strength of the universities is a diversity of the options that are available to students, so that a student who is interested in home science can go and do home science. Somebody interested in art can do art, and somebody who is interested in physics can pursue physics. So that is essentially the strength of the universities. And I think giving such options to our students also is something that will enable them to pursue different things, because not all of them may be interested in a particular martial art. Somebody may be interested in horseback archery, for example. I just saw that. So, or somebody may be interested in kung fu, somebody may be interested in gatka or malakam. So it is basically as per the taste of that person. And that is where I think the point that you mentioned about catching them young and exposing the physical aspects of these things at a very young age is something that is going to be very useful. And I think we are at IKS division, we are starting a new initiative, which is essentially called Kalashala, where every month a artist will go to the school and teach them 2 hours a week about that particular art form for a month. So essentially 8 classes per month. The whole idea is to give them a small taste of what is that, and to see whether they, I mean, the whole idea is they will be familiar with it. And after 1 month, the artist will organize some kind of a small thing there. And the students are now familiar with that art form. And in a year, they learn about 6-7 art forms like this. And then they go on and all. I think we can think about having something like this, where we teach 4-5 different martial art forms to kids at a young age in 1 year or 6 months. And we can have a group of teachers who are trained in these things, and then this happens like yoga day, you see the live demonstrations and all. If we can do that initial teacher training of the physical education teachers and then have them guide this. And one model we are following kind of at the IKS division is, because when you want to teach some kind of a very discipline specific course, you don't find that many experts. So what we are trying to do is we are creating these lectures, half-an-hour lectures, video lectures, which this faculty can play in the class, and the next 20 minutes of the classroom will be guided by that. So similarly, we can create these kind of modules where the physical education teacher will be participating and guiding the students after the students have watched the thing from an expert. Perhaps something of that sort can be done. And I think we need to really leverage the digital technologies to see if we can do that at a massive scale. And the scales that we're talking about, especially at school level, is really huge. And especially if we can do that in the Matrubhasha of the children, it will be even be more effective. And I really value that point that you said, that we need to catch them young at the physics and then introduce the physical aspects of the martial art. And then by the time they come to the higher education, when you talk about the philosophical aspects and then those things, you don't need external validation, because by that time they would have personal validation will be there. So the Shraddha will automatically develop for that. And then when they become young adults and then adults starting their families, they will automatically do this and the parampara will continue. So I think we have our task cut out for next 15-20 years to train this generation in such a way that they get exposed to these things. This is the hardest part of the work. And if we can implement this, after that the Jagannath Ratha Chakra will go on, Jagannath will move. And there is nothing we can stop. So, thank you.
Yeah, so to answer your question of what to do in terms of faculty training, yeah. So the NEP is a document, and so the document has beautifully laid out the problems and what are the measures, corrective measures to be taken, what should be the vision. Now the real challenge is in how to roll this out. As with any policy document, you can either stop there or you can try this. So I think this has to be done in stages, and we cannot expect overnight results from this new policy if we make an attempt to implement it. And going back to this example of AICT's strong recommendation of yoga and meditation, so this many institutes have taken it up, and the way our institute has taken it up is we have not looked for a person within the institute to train them, but we have looked for a facilitator of this. So somebody who is passionate, somebody who is interested about yoga, they have made that particular faculty member as in charge of this. And the same can be done with if martial arts is also brought in. You can bring in facilitators at the school level and college level initially Parallelly, concurrently, you also have faculty training programs where you give them a crash course kind of exposure on what this martial art form is, how it should be taught, etc. And over a period of time, we will have in-house trainers, in-house people in the college itself. When we have physical education instructors in schools and colleges, why can't we have martial art instructors also? It is very much possible. So transforming the vision into ground reality, there I think it's going to take time, and it is up to each institute, each college, each school to decide how it wants to try it out. What is applicable for a school in Uttaranchal may not be the same for what is in here in Kerala, because the circumstances are different, access to these art forms is different. So that is, I think, one way of doing all these things. And one core point which sir and ma'am also mentioned is that I think we have been talking about this over decades now. It is time to dismantle this Macaulayan education system. I think it has outlived its purpose. And it has outlived its purpose, if at all it had any particular, it's escapism, as you had mentioned. And we have to substitute something else there. And this NEP and IKS is the step in the right direction. So I think, from teacher training to student training, I think you bring all these things in. That is where the direction is probably.
It was wonderful listening to all of you. It's almost been an hour, and Madam has another program at 11:30. So I think we can wind up. But overall, since yesterday, all of us are in agreement that it needs to be done. And now it's about taking the next step. But I think we heard the martial arts experts here. They are willing to cooperate and go to whatever extent needed to make this happen. And they are insisting that this has to become a habit. There is no other way. And habituation can come only if it gets into the system. So let's all focus on something like that. I was personally given a challenge by Dilip sir yesterday to make Trinity as the first college where an entire batch learns Kalari. And nobody left behind. So we offer such a program and then make that as a model, because he created the yoga village, right? 17,000 people are practicing yoga in Kunnandanam, Pathanamthitta, where every family, one person, irrespective of religion, caste, creed, or anything, they practice. All the churches and mosques were the most cooperative for coming forward. So something like that in terms of Kalari or as a martial arts, we can start, and hopefully that will be the first step forward. So thank you so much for being here and accepting the invitation.
Thank you for the
accept a memento of appreciation from us, and we'll wind up. Thank you. Volunteers, please. Thank you so much for that. No, memento. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So that's Mahesh Kurikal at the inauguration function. He had specifically mentioned about Dhanurveda. And we at the Agasthyam venue, and he was also here intermittently, Mr. Govindan had come all the way from Wayanad. He's the traditional archer, and those who went to Agasthyam could see the variety of bows and arrows that he was carrying on display and allowing us to try as well. And yesterday the tourism director was also really enjoying performing with the bow and arrow. So I welcome Professor Ananda, and he'll be talking to us about the traditional archery techniques. He is from the Transdisciplinary University of Bangalore. We had Hariram Murthy ji visit 2 days ago, and he was also here talking to us. And he specifically mentioned about how campuses need to be preserved and grown in terms of important people and important teams. So over to Dr. Ananda M.A., Assistant Professor, Transdisciplinary University, Bangalore.
Namaste, welcome to one and all. Jnananandamayam devam nirmalasphatiकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवम् उपास्महे गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. So, namaste to everybody. So, first of all, I thank all the IKS people and all the people who has given me a golden opportunity to share my thoughts and views here in this August audience. So my subject is on conceptualization of traditional archery, that is Dhanurvidya, in modern context. So this goes like this. So martial arts, no, back. Yeah. So I will tell next slide then please. So martial arts of the Indian subcontinent are diverse in nature and have origins of different times from various different regions, that everybody know that. And some of the older traditions include the organized martial systems practiced by the Kshatriyas. The theories behind yoga, Ayurveda and Tantra, such as Kundalini, Prana and Nadi, that is Nadi things, and Chakra and Marma, are also present in Indian martial arts. Early martial traditions find mention in Indian literature, including Vedic literature dating back to the Vedic period, such as Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, and epics literature such as Mahabharata and Ramayana. So, according to Vishnu Purana, back. According to Vishnu Purana, text describes sir, don't play. It is going up front. Can I say next? According to Vishnu Purana, text describes Dhanurveda as one of the traditional 18 branches of knowledge, that is called Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas. That is Angani, Vedas Chatvaraha, Mimamsa, Nyaya Vistaraha, Puranam Dharma Shastram cha, Vidya Hetas Chaturdasha, Ayurvedo Dhanurvedaha, Gandharvaschetite Trayaha, Arthashastram Chaturthancha, Vidya Hyashtadasha Smritaha. So the tree structure of the 18 Vidyasthanas have been given in the next slide. Simply that is enough. So this is the tree structure which we can understand better. So next, here Dhanurveda is Upaveda of Yajurveda. Actually what happens, if you go to the internet and other things, there are a lot of discussions telling that Dhanurveda is Upaveda of Rigveda, Yajurveda or Atharvaveda, so many things. But there are a lot of evidences from various, even in the Vedas, in the other texts like TRINITY, etc. All of them tell that Dhanurveda is Upaveda of Yajurveda. Actually, so many times Yajurveda is considered as a Kshatriya Veda because of its way of pronunciation and so many other things. So that is why Dhanurveda is Upaveda of Yajurveda. Next, sir. So Dhanurveda has been mentioned in the following scriptures like Agni Purana, Akasha Bhairava Tantra, Aushanasa Dhanurveda, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Manasollasa, Shiva Dhanurveda, and Shukraniti, etc. Next. So when we talk about Dhanurveda and Dhanurvidya, Dhanurveda is a ocean. So Dhanurveda is the Upaveda of Yajurveda. As per the Vasishtha's Dhanurveda Samhita, it tells about 7 types of war. Dhanuhu, Chakram cha, Kuntam cha, Khadgan cha, Kshurika, Gada. Saptamam Bahu Yuddham Syat, Evam Yuddhani Saptadha. That means there are 7 types of wars, namely archery, discus, spear, sword, knife, mace, and wrestling. Here is an attempt to conceptualize the aspects of ancient Indian traditional archery and try to bring them into modern context. So next. So when we think about Dhanurvidya, as per the text of Vasishtha's Dhanurveda Samhita, general targets are of 4 types. Lakshyam chaturvidham jneyam sthiram chaiva chalam tatha chalachalam dvayachalam vedhaniyam kramenatu. So there are 4 types of targets, namely sthiram is static. Here static means the shooter and the target, both of them are static. Chalam means moving target, shooter will be static. Chalachalam, that means shooter will be moving and the target will be static. And dvayachalam, both of them are moving. So that you can see in the picture. So static, moving, starting moving, and both of them are moving. So next. And according to Dhanurveda text, aiming, that is drawing the bow. How? Sthandhanam trividham proktam adhaha urdhvam samam tada yojaye triprakaram hi karyeshvapi yathakramam adhascha durapatitve same lakshyeshu nischale dridhaspotam prakurvita urdhva sandhana yogataha. So samasandhana is this one, urdhva sandhana means this way, and adhasandhana is downwards. So this way 3 types of aiming is there, that is drawing the bow. So aiming should be downwards when the target is far away. So for static target, aiming should be normal with the eyesight level. And for very firm or hard target, you have to use the upwards, that is urdhva sandhanam. So next. So holding of the bowstring is known as guna mushti. So it is of pataka vajra mushtischa simha karnaha tathaivacha matsari kakatundicha yojaniyaha yathakramam. So there are 5 types of mushtis. Even it has been explained in detail. I am not going to the details. But one particular point I want to point out here. Tarjani madhyama madhye. Tarjani is point finger. Madhyama is ring finger, middle finger. Yatra punkhaha prapidyate. The end point of the arrow which has been folded up between these 2 fingers. And anamika samayogat mushtihi syad ekalavyakaha. Today, whatever the modern archery, in modern archery, whatever we are using, that is ekalavya, because there is no usage of thumb. Please remember that. All of you know, Ekalavya has given his thumb as a Guru Dakshina to Dronacharya. So without using the thumb, how you have to shoot the arrow? That has been told here in the text. So today's modern archery is nothing but part and parcel of ancient archery. So we have to do a lot of literary research. Next, sir. So here, that is what, sir, next one. Here, interdisciplinary aspects. which we have to think upon. Dhanurvidya or even Dhanurveda is interdisciplinary. For example, Dhanurveda and Ayurveda. There is a thing called payanam. Phalapayanam means quenching. That means smearing the herbs or poisonous things to the arrow so that you can make it very deadly weapon. That's the concept. So, pippali saindhavam kushtam gomutretu supeshayet. Anena lepayet shastram liptam chagno pratapayet shikhi grivanu varnabham tapta pitam tathaushadham tatastu vimalam toyam payet shastram uttamam. That means Pipali, Saindhava salt and Kushta, three of them should be pounded or grinded in cow urine, and it should be smeared on the tip of the arrow, and it should be heated up until it turns to the blue color like peacock's neck, and it should be cooled down. So that will become a deadly weapon. That's one concept. Similarly, they have told several type of. There is another example is if you have got chuchundari type of one herb, so the lion or animals won't come near to you. That is another one. Next slide. So Dhanurvidya and yoga. So today many people are talking about pranayama and meditation, etc. So while I was reading about these things, I was thinking before. Anyway, today in modern archery, students will get used to the warm-up sessions like exercises. If the students or the trainers or whoever the learners practice pranayama, meditation before doing the archery, and if they do, experiments, after practicing pranayama and meditation for over a period of 2 months, 3 months, and test how their mental ability is. Mental ability, ekagrata, atmavishwasa, everything. Then we could understand this. So one example is this one. Alidhetu prakartavyam savyam chaiva anukunchitam. Dakshinantu purastadva durapate vishishyate. When the target is far away, so the left leg should be down and the right leg should be front, and you have to shoot this way. So this thing looks like it is very similar to Virabhadrasana. So we have to plan the particular asanas which suit for Dhanurvidya. All those things we have to plan. Next. So Dhanurvidya and modern science, which we have to understand. So actually the different types of arrows have been told in Dhanurvidya. That is called Aramukha, Kshurapra, Gopucha, Vatsadanta, depending upon different types of targets. But today, to make the people understand it better, so we have created one 3D image of those arrows, and it has been done simulation and with analysis. That is, explicit dynamic analysis using ANSYS type of software. So analysis has been done with one particular arrowhead of ancient type with the modern type, and the impact, damage value, etc. of both of the arrowheads have been compared and recorded. Such experiments are necessary for understanding the concept better. Sir, the file. Open the file. Click that. Go to page number 15. Page number 15. Down, slowly down. See, these are the 3D images of the arrows mentioned in Dhanurvedya. Aramukha, Churapra, Vatsadanta, Ardhachandra, Suchi Mukha, Bhalla. Down. Next page. So, this is the arrowhead called Gopucha, which is used for general practice according to the text. And this is the arrowhead which is used in today's normal archery. That is also used for general practice. So, next. So, these are the impacts which have been done using the 3D modeling and simulation. Simulation, that is explicit dynamic analysis. So, impact of Gopucha, impact, damage value, etc. are higher of Gopucha compared to the normal arrow. So, we have to, as it comes for the sports, we have to do a lot of experiments and discussions how to reduce that Gopucha thing to our today's modern arrow, so that it could be used in the sports. How we can introduce those, they are all called as broadheads and they are prohibited in the sports. So we have to make policy decision and so many other things, how to bring them into regular sports. The next, sir. So these are the impacts. Sir, go to the slide. Close. Go to the slide. Yeah, next one. So there are some suggestions here, that is suggestions and requisitions. Comparative study of ancient archery with modern archery, especially literary research and practical application. So whenever we think about archery, my first and foremost question was, do we have particular text which deals with all these things? And how much literary research work has been done into these particular things? Because without the theoretical knowledge, practical application is difficult. That is just like becoming like without reading the lesson, if we are going directly to the question and answers, will it possible? That's the thing. So bring back the Guru Shishya Parampara. Like, that is what I am seeing, that Gurukul in Agastya Gurukulam, Agastya Kalari Paito, whatever I am seeing now. So how to bring back all type of things in all type of Kalari martial art, Indian martial arts. So planning of archery tournaments according to the ancient concepts. So this is what we have to plan, where we have to sit together like people like AKS people and Sports Authority of India. So many people have to sit together and plan what are the pros and cons, how we can bring them forward to school levels. Even people are discussing the same thing, so I am also stressing upon the same thing. And making policy decisions to bring traditional archery up to the level of Olympics. Today, traditional archery is there, but we have to think how we can plan to that level. That is my humble request to everybody. And creating opportunities for coming generation, future generation. And bringing different types of traditional archeries together, like Bhutan archery is there, Kyrgyzstan archery is there, Korean archery is there, Chinese archery is there, and our nomadic archery is there, or even tribal archery is there. So how we can bring all the archery aspects together at one place. Next one. So here about Indian martial arts. So I have told one drop of the ocean, that is Indian archery. Now I am telling about the ocean, that is Indian martial arts. So creation of Bharatiya Shaurya Kala Parampara Samsthana, that type of concept, is it possible to make? And same thing, whatever I have told about the archery, is it possible to do literary research about Gada Yuddha, Khadga, whatever the things, weapons we have, how can we bring that to the sports level? And one more thing is, if somebody is expert, has become expert, they could be even used for defense and special tactics and all other forces. So adding this concept into the education system as co-curricular activity and encouraging such arts for the future, like creating, some endowments for that, making them reciting the shlokas from the Grantha, so that they will be aware of the knowledge, and making them to prepare different type of items, martial art items, to prepare from themselves, their own hands, like creating 3D image, making them, and doing analysis, all type of things. So conducting more and more tournaments at all level, even like as I told for archery, we have to plan it for all the Indian martial arts, like school level, zone level, etc., till international level. And making policies to take these aspects of arts to international levels. So this is the bibliography. We have got some sort of text through which I have taken the information. Okay, this is for your information, but we need more and more text to do more research. So some useful links. Here, one thing I want to tell. So there is a link prepared by Lars Anderson. He has used exactly what
classic actually tells us about super archers or mythical archers, describes the types of skills that they used. First of all, shooting multiple arrows at multiple targets. Another thing is to hit the eye of a rotating fish by looking at it through a reflection. Also, in this Indian legend, it talks about hitting a machete out of the air. Lars has to be careful here, because if he doesn't hit it in the right place, it would spin out of control. When Lars Anderson saw Legolas, he thought Legolas was the ultimate archer. However, after he read the ancient Indian epic, he found his super archer hero. In the Mahabharata classic, it often talks about hitting enemy arrows out of the air. Now, Lars has trained for many years to perform this, so please don't try it at home. The skills in this ancient Indian classic are indeed mythical. Lars has actually performed these skills, and he's brought mythical archery into reality. We hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, like and subscribe for more of these videos and share it around with your friends.
Okay. Shall I show one more video? Time is there. You can open second one. This one, two. So I will show one third one also. Yeah. So these are all different types of postures. He is Mr. Jasminder Singh. He is in Mohali. By profession, he is a lawyer. By passion, he is an archer. He has got his own Facebook called Singh Archery. So he has got a full, one whole, in his room, he has got full of all types of bows. He describes what kind of karigari has been done to the different types of bows. Tatar bow, Indian bow, Korean bow, all the things. So you can stop at the third one. Internet problem?
नमस्कार दोस्तों, सत श्री अकाल। मेरा नाम है जसमिंदर और सिंह आर्चरी के इस वीडियो में मैं आपका हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूँ। जानकारी देंगे, इसकी विशेषताओं के बारे में आपको बताएंगे, जो हमने अथक प्रयास और अध्ययन और शोध द्वारा हमने इकट्ठी की है, और इसके प्रसार के लिए हम आपके लिए ये वीडियो सीरीज लेकर आए हैं। दोस्तों, जितनी पुरानी हमारी भारतीय संस्कृति है, उतनी ही प्राचीन हमारी धनुर्विद्या भी है, और ये आज से नहीं बल्कि 3000 साल ईसा पूर्व से हमारे साथ है, और हमारी संस्कृति का अभिन्न अंग है, हमारा खजाना है। दोस्तों, वैदिक काल में हमारे 4 वेद, जो कि बड़े शोध के बाद बनाए गए हैं, और समय समय पर इसमें और संहिता द्वारा संकलन भी किया गया है। दोस्तों, हमारी संस्कृति में 4 प्रकार के वेद हैं, जिसमें ऋग्वेद, यजुर्वेद, सामवेद और अथर्ववेद हैं शामिल हैं, और हर वेद के उपवेद भी हैं। उपवेद में समय समय पर ज्ञानियों द्वारा संकलन किया गया है, और इसको अपडेट और अपग्रेड करते रहे। दोस्तों, ऋग्वेद का उपवेद है आयुर्वेद, जिसमें औषधि और वनस्पति के बारे में जानकारी मिलती है, और यजुर्वेद का उपवेद है धनुर्वेद, जिसमें युद्ध विज्ञान कला के बारे में जानकारी मिलती है। सामवेद का उपवेद है गंधर्ववेद, जिसमें नाट्यशास्त्र और नृत्य कला के बारे में जानकारी मिलती है, और इसके अलावा अथर्ववेद का उपवेद है अर्थवेद, जिसमें शिल्प कला और भवन निर्माण कला के बारे में जानकारी मिलती है। तो दोस्तों, हमारा जो विषय है वो धनुर्वेद के ऊपर आधारित है, और हम आपको अपने इस वीडियो में धनुर्वेद के बारे में और भारतीय धनुर्विद्या के बारे में जानकारी और इसकी विशेषताएं बताते रहेंगे। दोस्तों, धनुर्वेद में 7 तरह की युद्ध कला का वर्णन हमें मिलता है, जिसमें धनुष, कुंत, शूरिका, गदा, खड्ग और बाहु शामिल हैं। दोस्तों, चूंकि हमारा जो विषय है वो धनुर्विद्या के ऊपर आधारित है, इसलिए हम बाकी बातों के बारे में तो नहीं, लेकिन मैं आपको धनुर्विद्या के बारे में जो धनुर्वेद कहता है वह जानकारी जरूर आपको दूंगा। दोस्तों, धनुर्वेद में 5 प्रकार की गुणमुष्टि का वर्णन मिलता है। इसके अलावा भी अन्य प्रकार की गुणमुष्टियों का वर्णन है, लेकिन 5 प्रधान हैं, जिसमें दोस्तों ये जो 5 गुणमुष्टि है ये है पताका, वज्रमुष्टि, मत्सरी, सिंहकरण मुष्टि और काकतुंडी, ये शामिल हैं। इसके अलावा जो मुष्टि जो सुनने में आती हैं, देखने में मिली है, वो है त्र्यंबक, एकलव्य और अलग प्रकार की मुष्टियों का भी प्रयोग किया जाता है, जिसके बारे में मैं आपको आने वाली वीडियो में जानकारी देता रहूँगा। तो दोस्तों, मैं आज आपको बताता हूँ जो पहली गुणमुष्टि है, जिसका नाम है पताका। पताका का मतलब, संस्कृत में पताका का मतलब होता है फ्लैग या झंडा। ये मुष्टि इस तरीके से बनती है, मुष्टि यानी कि मुट्ठी, ये इस तरीके से बनती है, आप देख सकते हैं। जैसे झंडा होता है वैसे ही ये इस तरीके से इसको बनाया जाता है। 3 उंगलियां अंदर, 1 उंगली बाहर और अंगूठा ऊपर, इसे कहते हैं पताका मुष्टि। और इसके चलाने का तरीका, वैसे धनुर्वेद में हर मुष्टि का प्रयोग विशेष तौर से बताया गया है, विशेष प्रकार के बाण चलाने के लिए बताया गया है। और जो पताका मुष्टि है वो वैसे बेसिक ड्रॉ है, आप उसको नॉर्मल जो बाण है उससे चलाने के लिए भी प्रयोग में ला सकते हैं, लेकिन ज़्यादातर ये नालिका यंत्र चलाने के काम आती है, यानी कि जो जिसे हम माजरा कहते हैं, छोटे बाण चलाने के लिए इसका प्रयोग किया जाता है। ये बाहर की तरफ बाण के ऊपर लगा रहता है और अंगूठे को आप इसे पकड़कर खींच सकते हैं और इसको इस तरीके से छोड़ा जाता है। इसे कहते हैं पताका मुष्टि।
So thank you for everybody for listening patiently.
Thank you so much for that enlightening and educational lecture and sharing the links from which we can learn more. This Mela, unexpectedly, we have a lot of significance to archery, because when we planned it, we were getting martial arts from different states of India, but then we had the Wayanad ancient archer come in. He had the full bow arrow set up there, live demonstration. Your lecture was only told to me as Dhanurveda. It did not specifically get into archery. So now I'm beginning to think if there's a divine signal here about something to do with archery. Thank you so much for being here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the show by the horseback archery and sword team. So please direct your attention to the ground. Afterwards, I mean, you can stand here in the shade and watch, and then please come back, because we need to honor the people who kept the expo and the stalls here. So student volunteers, please tell Sony to be ready with the archery, horseback.
interestingly, I was part of this national
come back and please be seated. Thank you, Gigi Mohan Chandran, for coming to the Mela. It's very interesting that Gigi is here. Gigi runs Axia Technologies, which is a proud company in Trivandrum that works for German car manufacturers. But even more importantly, Gigi practices Kalaripayate and is a CEO who has insisted that all the new engineers who join Axia undergo Kalari practice. So that's a company that has made Kalari practice traditional. Murthy ji, this is somebody you should definitely meet. Gigi Mohan. Gigi, yes, please. Huh? I'd like to invite these special guests onto the stage so that we can honor them with a memento. We'll start with Vastu Gurukulam. Vastu Gurukulam representatives, please come on stage and accept the memento. Thank you for being part of this Mela. Next we have Susruta Panchakarma, Rajgopal sir and team. Devadasan Vaidya Siddhamarmam Research Foundation, please. NSS unit of Ayurveda College. Ayurveda College, Government Ayurveda College, Trivandrum. Raghav Krishna ji, please come on stage and accept our token of appreciation. Please do. Divya Vipin. Srimati Divya Vipin. Okay. Anurag Deshpande ji, please. Can we have a representative from Know Your Army stall to please collect our token of appreciation? Anyone from, because this has been the greatest expo experience this college ground has ever seen. Ladies and gentlemen, if somebody from the Know Your Army spoken, please come forward. Yes. Please welcome Suresh sir from ISRO for the Space Museum bus that's been here. Thank you so much, sir. Please accept our token of appreciation. And Divya ji, please come to the stage. We have some more horseback martial arts display outside on the ground. Please enjoy. Thank you very much.